Hey, audio people, this is Graham from therecordingrevolution.com, and today I want to go over something called mid-side processing. Now, don't tune out if this sounds overly technical or uninteresting, and don't at the same time freak out as if it's something complex. Mid-side is something that I didn't for a long time mess with, and just recently I've been playing with it in the past few months, and on a project real recently, it kind of saved my life. So I want to show you what the concept is, how you can affect your audio, in this case in mastering, and what it does and what it means and how it's relevant and super powerful. The idea is if you have a stereo track, like right here I've got a final mix, all right? And so I'm mastering this track and I have this final mix and I can't really adjust anything other than this stereo file. There's a left and a right, and that's pretty much what you have to work with. You can process the entire stereo track. Now, when we hear things in stereo, we hear something coming out of the left speaker and the right speaker. And if they're the same volume or if they're evenly across in the left and the right, then we hear them in the center. So you have that ghost image, probably like it sounds like I'm talking to you right now, coming out of the screen or in front of you, but really I'm coming out of the left and the right equally. Well, mid-side is a technique where you have certain plugins or processes that can split apart the audio into two different ways of looking at it, not just left and right like you see here, but all the content that's coming out of the middle, exactly in the middle, and then all the content that constitutes just on the sides, okay? And this really is dependent on how the mix was panned. So for example, your lead vocal is usually panned right up the middle. If it's 100% up the middle, or your kick drum or your snare drum, it's going to be the mid section. And then anything that's panned slightly left or right or hard left and right is going to be the side. So certain plugins and certain effects can allow you to adjust and EQ or tweak only things in the middle or only things on the side. And that can be very helpful if you don't have access to the multi-track files or if there's just some slight tweaking you want to do. And I thought I would show a really helpful example where I was really grateful to have some mid-side processing. Here's a track. It's come to me mixed. I've done a little bit of processing to it right now, but take a listen to it for a second. And if you'll listen carefully, you'll notice that to me, a lot of the information is up the middle. So it sounds great. The vocals at a good level, but there's not a lot of oomph or power in the guitars outside the middle. It just sounds kind of narrow.
Take all of me from me.
So there's a bunch of guitars kind of panned up the middle. There is stuff on the left and the right, but if you catch my drift, to me it sounded like I wish it were maybe panned wider so you would take more use of the space and you'd have this bigger, wider sounding mix. So what I did was use a really helpful plugin from Waves called Center, and it's going to be in Soundfield. And this is just one plugin. There's a few different brands that will make a mid-side processing plugin. This is just one from Waves. And it's a good one for someone like me because it's simple. There's fewer knobs. But what you get is overall volume control on the center information, and then overall volume control on the outside, anything on the sides. And so what you can do is adjust them independently. So I'm going to press play, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn down the center a little bit relative to the sides. And that's going to be the lead vocal. That's going to be the kick drum and the snare drum and the bass and any of the guitars that are in the middle. It's going to bring them down a bit, but it's not bringing everything down, just the middle. And then I'm going to bring the sides up a little bit in volume, just a hair, and you're going to get a more spread out balance. Take a listen.
Take all of me from me.
All right, now let's play some more and we'll bypass it on and off and see what that did.
Be my guide, be my life, be my tower, strength inside. Light my life, light my desire, light my pillar of fire at night. Take all of me from me.
All right, let's hear that again.
Take all of me from me.
So it's subtle, but if you're listening, you'll notice the sides come more alive and the vocal sits down a little bit in the mix on this particular example. Now, a lot of mid-side processors allow you to affect EQ balances on the mid versus the sides. Now, this plugin in particular from Waves is very simple, so it's not a complete EQ for all aspects, but you get a little bit of low end and high end, and you can choose where that goes. So I could attribute, let's say, more low end to the center where the bass is, and I could dial that down. And I could attribute more sparkle or top end to the sides. Maybe that's where the guitars are. And punch, not quite sure what that is or what frequencies they're saying that is, but you could attribute some of that to the center if you want. Not all the way, but a little bit, so that it affects maybe the percussive things in the middle. And we can take a listen to that.
Take all of me from me. Be my guide, be my life, be my tower, strength inside. Light my life, light my desire, light my pillar of fire at night. Take all of me.
So you get the idea. All a plugin like this is allowing me to do is adjust the center information from the side information. And it's a very different way to think, very different way to work. But if you're given something like this where the vocal is too quiet, which is not the case here, but you could bring up the center information of the vocal against everything else. If the vocal's too hot, you could bring it down. If in this case, the guitars and the information on the sides, I thought were a little too quiet, or it was all kind of in the center. So I wanted to bring out or feature the width of this mix. And then if you have access to an EQ, things like Ozone, I have an older version of Ozone from Isotope, but newer versions allow you to do mid-side processing on most of their modules, their EQ, their multiband compression. You could do something like that and literally EQ some crisp top end only on the center to make the vocal stand out, as opposed to EQ across the entire mix. So you start to get the idea of what mid-side is and can do, and it might pique your interest. It might be something to look at or play around with, and it's a great way to work. It saved my life on this project. It's mid-side processing. Check it out. Hope that helps you guys and gives you something to think about. Again, this is Graham at therecordingrevolution.com. Hope you guys make some great music this week, and I hope to see you on another video soon.